Yep. Is the cracked chicken thing tonight?
It's not.
Well,
Yeah, we had to re-advertise it. You get another one in the mail. The former date showed it yesterday. And so we have to re-advertise. Yeah, the next planning commission meeting.
alright.
You'll probably got
You're
the notice.
gonna get
The
it.
renotice today.
Let me,
Maybe they'll come.
Yeah, I think there's, yeah,
October 9th. October 9th.
Oh.
You doing?
Fine, that's good.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay. You guys have a Rachel. Good luck. You too.
Yeah,
Thanks. Have a great day.
Yes. No. No, you're wrong. Or appointed.
good.
Site plans are voice. Yes. Thank for a minute here. Sorry. Yeah. It's late.
I know it's outside the township boundaries, but on the corner of the canal and Davis Highway,
Okay,
on the southwest corner,
okay.
what is all that?
Southwest corner, now I'm here.
Last page.
Oh, state police firing range, you know. Yeah, provide utilities. Yeah, you're right.
Where is this state police fire?
It's right just south of Davis. Yeah. There's a state police lab going in. Firing range. Other.
Is there a firing range right now in the township?
In the township? Yeah, we have that 517 range. It's where the red store is.
Yeah.
Front of Great Harvest, or behind Great Harvest.
Yeah, no, man, I'm in an actual outside range.
Yes, the sportsman league
Where's that?
at the end of canal here. Where canal turns into Oak River Trail. Right at the end.
And do they have specific hours that they can use that range?
Well, they're not restricted.
They're not,
They predate township, basically.
Wow.
They're in the 50s.
so they can fire off at 10 o'clock at night or?
They don't, but they can, I guess. There's no
Sometimes they
restriction.
do in the summertime,
Is they're doing it?
Yeah. or 8 o'clock in the morning.
There's no restriction. 'Cause they're grandfathered in.
Cause I hear a firing range from where I live.
Really?
I've never heard anything.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I live in that large.
Yeah, you just live next door, basically, yeah.
He sleeps like a baby's got kids.
No, there's definitely a firing range somewhere.
That's the only one that would be, that's the closest to you.
How far back do you live in?
I live like right behind the trail. So like the corner of the baseball courts, there's a line of trees. That's the other side of that's Woodstock Drive.
So which side of the trail, the north side or the south?
North side.
Yeah, so that's where I live. I live on the north side of the park too.
North of Sharp Park.
Yeah, yeah, I live north of Sharp. And how far west are you in?
You know that pavilion that's in the middle of the east-west pathway?
Yeah,
It's like dead straight.
well, if it's up on Canal, you could hear it too.
I know, that's why I'm surprised. I've never.
There's not one up in Lansing Township that we know of.
I mean, there's one in by Royal Scott, the Lansing Police Department has one.
That must be good that that's it.
It's quite a distance.
Yeah.
I'm telling you though, when the wind's blowing out of the north or northeast, it's like,
Really?
it's right there. There's one at Royal Scott or who's that?
Yeah, the Lansing Police Department.
Lansing Police Department. That makes more sense because when I hear it, it's rapid fire.
Yeah. I go home every Wednesday and it's part of the soundtrack.
Okay. Oh, it's a really,
Yes,
yeah. So I bet that's it. Do you hear that one at your house?
I don't, I mean, I hear a lot of fireworks,
No.
but yeah, I've never heard rapid gunshots.
No.
Wendy, have you heard, I mean, she lives,
Should be over here.
I've got in the middle between you two.
I don't ever hear.
Well, she's got a lot of trees. You know, you both have more trees than I do.
You're right.
That might dead thing, but.
That's right.
All right, I'm gonna go with the Royal Scott piece then, because like I said, it's rapid fire. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like,
Well, hello, how are you?
it's good. How are you doing?
I'm blessed, thank you.
All of these days, we all are. Maybe that's what I should say.
Trying to find somebody to haul my wood away.
You want?
And they wanna charge like $600.
Who's charging? You want just a private company?
Yeah. They got the walnut tree.
You lost some trees.
They had to come down with the solar lines. I mean, they're just like. big.
We are into fall.
And I would just think like, well, that wall doesn't.
Did BWL cut them?
That rain wasn't supposed to come till
No.
tomorrow.
That's right.
No, you just stacking around.
It's 4% chance. Well, I looked on.
They
So
just.
they
Microsoft
cut
did.
it down, so your responsibility is the homeowner. You're right.
They're.
I'm sure walnuts are.
Just in case.
And I told the guy. I
Did
said,
you
Can it cover with straw?
call MS?
No.
really?
Yeah, they. Now, a lot of the projects they need are.
Two cheap and two lights.
What they may know of the wood makers
Because I was like, really?
and also.
See where the
Truly,
tree.
no, because there's a guy on my staff, on our staff, with the landscape makers. And they have wood working shop.
It's that fence
We
going
call
down.
it like,
It's,
field shop for business. There's a wood business.
Essentially.
Sherlock.
Yeah, the stuff on there.
Take a couple.
It's something
I said,
pulled
"Oh,
out.
take it out." And I just take a couple pieces. I want you to take it off.
Boy, there's a
I want
lot
to-
of.
Really?
So it's an
South.
No, it's not the
just a few.
Oh, please, the school was.
I went as far
And
as.
then. Yeah, they run across the road, get up in the tree.
Trees are one of the-
And
back there, one of the first things.
then
Where do you live?
the wall
State.
Yeah.
I went.
drop on the wood. Was the first time I heard of it.
That's what's really.
And your cutters.
Yeah, and you know, the squirrels put them in the Chevy, in the net, they put them in the.
I'll say Joe.
When they have-
You can get over to the other side of.
Wormy type thing. I put it down.
Side of quite a hundred.
Yeah.
The trees are on. In the back end. The roads are on.
So. put it down.
I do think it's down.
Disinfect it.
It's just,
What they are, was actually lifted
I told my husband, I said,
into the.
These are fun.
I don't know.
That's interesting.
What's.
Came back.
Yeah.
River Bridge is here in Atlanta.
It's an old.
There
Mhm.
to my
Guess it-
driveway.
Then there's.
Washes out.
Watch
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Take it out. Put them
That
down.
work better?
There's trees down in the yards.
And with the walnuts collected in there, of course, they got magnets and that stuff on. So.
It's disgusting.
we went and got-
I'm not saying you should use it, I just.
And-
No, I haven't
It's back behind the monitor.
We got the old fashioned laser. Yes, and planting is poor. We don't fancy.
Exactly.
Used to be cutting
Yeah,
edge.
the dead comments are not far fetched, right?
Yeah. So, yeah. They'll sit in the house and you can see, just take it. And I tell them, if you're gonna do that, bring some to it.
Yeah, right. Who's this guy?
Ms. Ossing indicated she was gonna be.
Excuse me.
Yes, over 30.
5 minutes.
You sit on planning?
Sometimes.
Man, we got.
What are you here for? Sometimes I wonder. How are you, Mike?
All right, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Oh, Rachel, here would be a full house.
Did you treat it?
No. We had lights and everything. And the church going out. Oh.
Yeah, they-
40 minutes.
So,
Oh.
but by then, stuff.
We're in rock. Now, we're in regular, nobody's underground.
This year.
We have poles.
Yes,
We don't.
That is.
and we got the surge, the box. Right in.
There you go.
That's
incredible. Had you committed before you were born? Yeah.
Like that sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, we had a my old house. Our poles were in the backyard. There was a transfer going over surge or whatever. There. And like, 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, no, we got lucky. They flashed them. You know, I mean.
Oh, really?
If a substation or something like that goes out, we'll go back. Well, that's not
Yeah.
involved. Really, but no, I'm just looking out my window going. this is not good.
And I wasn't figure since passed, but
Sunday, I think that's it.
the Sundays, they had been eating out every day. So every day after.
Interesting stuff.
And I said,
Rain will begin at 5:57.
and don't think so. Tails,
Oh, my God.
or
Next
had houses
That's not
around.
cheap.
4 days.
Oh, it's too bad. I'm sorry.
And
They didn't think. Dave, you ready? Like to call the regular meeting of the Delta Township Planning Commission to order. First is the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll ask Member Meadow to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Secretary McConnell, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Member Schweitzer,
Present.
Member Meadow,
Here.
Member Mudry,
Present.
Member Kaczynski. Present. Member Elzinga.
She's ill.
Member Bradley.
here
Kyle was here. Member Hunt Proctor
attending.
and Chair Leinfeld.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Next up is approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Member Schweitzer,
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
moved by Member Schweitzer, supported by Hunt Proctor to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those approved? All those disapproved, thank you. Thank you. Next up is approval of the minutes. We have the minutes of the August 14th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting. Summary record of public hearing 2024-2029 Capital Improvements Program. And summary record of public hearing for group daycare, case number 72310.
Mr. Chair, move approval.
Member Kaczynski moves approval of all three.
Support?
Supported by Member Manoa. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Minutes are adopted. Correspondence, there is none. Old business, there is none. No public hearings this evening either. Other business, Secretary McConnell.
Yes, we have at 4800 South Canal Road, Phase 2 preliminary site plan review. Site plan review for 3 industrial buildings on south 7.75 acres of a 15.5 net acre site located in section 33 of the township on the west side of Canal Road, immediately south of Erickson Park.
Thank you. Staff, Gary?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the screen before you and behind you, you have an aerial photo. That triangular parcel that you see that is south of Erickson Park on the west side of Canal Road is about 15.5 net acres. Phase 1, which you saw in 2020, there's also 3 buildings on that parcel that were built, spec industrial buildings. And then phase two will be the southern half of that parcel. Another 3 buildings, two 12,000 square foot buildings are proposed and a single 33,000 square foot building. You have those site plans in your packet that we provided to you. The site's zoned industrial, so we've got industrial use proposed. We don't know who the tenants are yet. When we do find out who the tenants are, we'll be able to more precisely determine if they need to change parking or things like that. In general, it's an industrial use, industrial zoning consistent with the comprehensive plan recommendations. The phase one is nearing completion, and phase two will be served by essentially extension of the utilities. From phase one on to phase two, there'll be water, sanitary sewer, storm drainage, and then there's a single driveway that will serve the entire 15.5 acre site. The driveway was established for phase one. That was approved by the Eaton County Road Commission already. It's already constructed. No further permits would be needed from the Road Commission as long as there's no further construction activity within the Canal Road right away. All utilities are available to the site: water, sanitary, sewer, and storm drain. You have the engineer comments as part of your packet. There's a marked up site plan that also is illustrating what is necessary to bring the site in compliance with our utility construction standards. Again, basically, we're eliminating some angles to the utility lines or removing some hydrants and in manholes and things like that. Nothing major. Again, we're recommending approval subject to final approval by the engineering and utility departments. Storm drainage is the Eaton County Drain Commissioner's jurisdiction. There is a detention pond. I don't know if the pond is entirely completed for both phases. So if not, that will have to work on completion. Will have to be completed. Dave, go back up to the engineering marked up copy. So it looks like, and we have representatives from the developer here, and he can verify this and go down to zoom in on the detention pond if you would. That's in this area here where the cursor is. I think a portion of the pond, the southernmost portion of the pond, still needs to be built out to have the capacity for both phases. Scroll down a little bit. So you've got the 12,000 square foot buildings to the west, and then a larger 33,000 square foot building that's going to be to the south. And then again, my cursor is not working. So here in the first phase, you had a building here, and a building here that's off the screen now, and then a single building here. And this is an outside storage area. So they're going to complete the project with three additional buildings. The plan complies with both of our standards. I've indicated landscaping requirements. There is a green belt that's required along Canal Road. There are some deficiencies in that. There needs to be a greater variety of trees. We only we only allow 1/3 of the plantings to be make up the total green belt, if you will. So you have to have basically 3 different kinds of trees minimum. That's to avoid if we get disease or something like that. We still have a buffer in place with the remaining plantings, and the dead material can be replaced. And again, you won't lose any of the screening abilities of the green belt that you need. It backs up to the expressway. No screening is required there. Also along the expressway, the drainage way, there's a county drain. There's some wetlands back there, and there's a 100-year floodplain back there along the expressway. None of those areas are going to be encroached upon in this phase, so no special permitting is required for activities in any of those areas. So staff's recommending approval to a number of revisions. Final review and approval by the utilities and engineering department. Final review and approval by the fire department. Final approval from the drain office. The typical boilerplate approvals that staff looks at. There will be landscape surety agreement required. Surety provided by the developer. We've got some utility agreements that have to be executed. There is a punch list from phase one that the engineering department has prepared that needs to be completed before he'll sign off on the second phase. So it's also a stipulation of approval. I'll entertain questions if any. We do have representative of the developer here to answer questions also.
Mr. Chair,
Member Schweitzer.
is there gonna be, those trees that are blowing down, is that gonna require more, variety on this? On the south side?
Right, so we'll have to take a look at that along the south side, Mr. Schweitzer. Are you referring to along the expressway?
No, well, no, not on the south side of the property where near the driveway. Left, south side of the driveway,
South side of
there's pine trees and stuff.
yes, if part of the green belt, so anything so part of what the site plan requires for any development is that those trees have to be maintained in perpetuity. So if there's damage, if they're removed, and yes, when they are, if we did change the ordinance since the original phases, they'll have to meet today's standards. So yes. So we'll go out, we'll do a count, we'll see what's there, we'll see what's types are left. And again, it's basically only 1/3 can make up any one species. So
Member Mudry.
Mr. Chair, what is this red squirrely thing here with a question mark?
that's a good
Not
question.
working, but we see it.
Yeah, the engineer had some, I think it's in his narrative that he provided in the memo, but there's a question about that, either the material that's going to be used or the treatment there that they're pointing to. It's has to do with, I think, the water main. So
You got a handle on it, right?
yeah, yeah, that's a note for the engineer. So
Any other questions of staff? Okay. I don't hear any questions of the developer. Is there anything the developer would like to add?
I think Mr. Bosick covered everything quite well. I already have my engineering team facing those concerns. that you said.
Chris, you want to come to the podium and identify yourself? Thanks.
My name is Chris Smith. I work for Tri-State Development or Tri-State Lease Group, who is spearheading this development. As Mr. Bozek mentioned there, all the concerns that you see before you, my engineering team is already addressing those as we speak. We had a conference call before this meeting, and nothing that's too much out of the ordinary. They're got a good handle on it. So
Great, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Member Schweitzer.
what has been that fence type that's got blown down during the storm?
oh, you mean my latest headache, huh?
Your what?
My latest headache, huh?
Yeah,
That was a 23,000 square foot outdoor storage that the current tent was requiring. Bring a treated stockade fencing, and then that last storm that came through, I'm not sure if the tornado touched down next door, but the whole fencing it just scared, just snapped off like toothpicks. But it's being scheduled to be rebuilt as we speak. Meeting a contractor on site tomorrow morning.
so it's outside storage?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Would be the pleasure of the commission members.
The chairman.
Yes, Member Humble.
I move that the Delta Township Planning Commission approve the preliminary site plans for 133,000 square foot and 12,000 square foot buildings on the southern 1/2 of the give or take 5.5 net acre property located at 4800 South Canal Road, identified as parcel code number 040-033-400-03000, as illustrated on the site plans prepared by D&M Site Incorporated and dated on August 22nd, 2003, subject to following stipulations, of which there are 8.
Okay, and let the record show it's plus or minus 15.5 net acres. Support. Thank you. It's been moved by member Hunt Proctor, supported by member McConnell. Any discussion? This is a record roll call.
Voice.
Voice vote. Okay, we have a voice vote. So all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion's adopted. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. So just work on the revisions in my office to move you along. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Secretary McConnell, item B.
Okay. Here we have Midwest Press Industrial Building Expansion, preliminary site plan review. Site plan review for a 27,342 square foot industrial building expansion on a 14.75 net acre site at 2904 Snow Road in section 26 of the township.
Who has this one?
That's me.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. McConnell. So the general location for this site is going to be in section 26. It's kind of where Snow Road dead ends into the train tracks. And right here on the southeast corner is Lansing Road. To kind of give you a general, I think it's with Pearson Highway to the north. This is a 2023 aerial of the property. The general area of the proposed addition is going to be right back here. Going into the standards, well, let's talk about it. So the document is Midwest Press. Basically, they repair and sell stamp presses. It's my understanding that this space will be utilized for small assembly and machining, providing the necessary resources to meet the increasing demands of their customer base. And that language was taken off their website. Going through surrounding land uses, to the north is an industrial undeveloped parcel. To the south is industrial, specifically Grand Trunk, Western Railroad right away, Old Lansing Road, and then further down is a trucking company, which some of the longer Delta Township residents might remember as the site of the old drive-in. To the east is Grand Trunk, Western Railroad property and a rail car holding area. And to the west is industrial zoned, also undeveloped parcel. Going through chapter 6 standards of review, everything was pretty, standard. We have a to be discussed point on 4. So the zoning ordinance requires that, if there's an easement on the property, it needs to be called out on the site plan. This building was built more than a few years ago, like 1960. So there's an existing, curb cut and driveway to the north. I've been talking to Steve Woody, who is the engineer out for this project, and they hadn't been able to find that easement was ever recorded. So they're going to work on getting that fixed or identifying what easement was, just so, going forward, everything is nice and legal. Continuing on. So, number 7, site planning and design of specific improvements will accomplish the preservation and protection of existing natural resources and features to the extent reasonably possible. There's 2 wooded areas on their property, both of which are kind of in areas that aren't really usable for industrial space. Their plan calls out that they plan to preserve as much as possible. There's a little expansion of a storm drainage up here, and I think some utility work right around there. But just using this standard to, recognize that in the industrial section, tracks of trees like this are going to be rare, and it is something that we should, now on take a look at, and if we can preserve. So you can see in the recommended stipulations of approval that is directly mentioned. I just wanted to point that out because it's kind of a new take that we had discussion on last week. We haven't ever officially done that before. Going further. So the other point of discussion was the requirement of a green belt along Snow Road. So what you have right here is a shot of the Snow Road curb cut. This is obviously an aerial. The applicant has stated they want to use, this track of trees as their green belt, and they state that it's larger and more diverse than anything we would require. Talking to Gary about it, he may agree, but he basically his requirement was for them to show that they can meet all our standards. So I think it's 7 trees and 27 shrubs need to be identified, and also then preserve. So that just hasn't happened yet, and we gave the option to the applicant to either go ahead and survey these trees and shrubs and show us that you can meet our minimum standards, or create an actual green belt for new plantings.
Yeah, the ordinance lets me determine if you can use natural existing vegetation to meet the requirement. I just, need to know what's there and to make sure that it can meet our standard in terms of variety and numbers. So just a quick inventory of what's out
Has this
there.
been requested at this point, or do they have to?
It's part of your stipulations that's recommended.
Yeah. So it's it's up to them to decide how they want to handle it. We'd be accepting of anything as long as it can meet our minimum standards. And it might be a situation where you have enough trees, but you don't have enough shrubs. So
That's what I do. We substitute a tree for a shrub or something, because it's.
you could, if you got a variance, it might be easier just to plant shrubs. Yeah. So I mean, as closely as you can to meet our minimum standards is all we're looking for.
Trying to say enforce that we can't cut that down, but it also doesn't count as.
Well, it would count. Will all of it count?
Yeah, so
Well, it just seems like a double standard, like you're enforcing us twice, and I can't cut down your trees, but then also you have to have certain, you're right, it just seems like. If you're gonna, my natural vegetation is gonna count, it should count, not my natural vegetation doesn't count, but I still have to keep it, because that's not fair, right?
I don't know if I would agree with that interpretation of the ordinance. Granted that it specifically calls out the importance of preservation of natural features. And it specifically in this case is the 2 that are on the property are in areas that really have no.
So you're saying what is black, you wouldn't let me clear to put a building on?
Depends where.
I mean, how is that different from this, right?
Well, once again, it would depend. You would be able to
Right.
cut down. So there's actually a specific stipulation in the ordinance which requires tree preservation for trees that are in your setback area.
Okay.
So if there's an existing tree in your required side yard, rear yard, or setback that's about 8-inch diameter, that there is a requirement of preservation.
Good, hang on. The applicant will have an opportunity to respond in a moment, and we'd like you to come up to the podium and introduce yourself. That's, you're more than welcome to do so. Okay, anything else, Dave?
So engineering, water and fire have done a first round of comments, and the applicant received them and responded to them. We haven't yet received comments from our departments for re-review. So everything is, pending approval of drain commission, road commission, engineering, utility, and fire department. But we are, recommending approval with just the stipulation of the preservation of the woodland areas, and also trying to, see that our minimum greenbelt standards are met.
Any questions of staff from commissioners? Okay. Now, if the applicant would like to come up and say a few, please identify yourself and so he set you up then, huh? Is that it? Okay.
I guess so. I'm Tom Clark. I'm one of the 2 owners of Midwest Press. Nick Martin is the other owner. And the one thing I want to bring up about that
Can
area.
you state your address too, please, of Midwest Press?
2904 Snow Road. And in that greenbelt area there, we've had some work that we've had to do with, there's a some drainage issues that were part of our 2018 edition. We had our water flowing a certain way where the drain commissioner wanted us to go. We found out the water doesn't flow that way. So we had to clean out that, and behind by the railroad tracks, we had to clean it out and go back to the Dow or the DOT drain. So we had to basically clean up the backside of that tree area so we could get something back in there to clean that all out. In doing so, that woods that you see there is it's a briar brush. I mean, you've got trees on top of trees and you cannot walk through it. And there was a really nice lane back in there. So we've actually started to clean some of that up, take a lot of that underbrush out. My goal is to try to make it more park-like, where I've got grass through there and I'm maintaining it. And then keep the good trees, the trees that are something of substance, and take some of the bad stuff out of there. Now, when we get done with that, I'm sure there's gonna be the 26, I would expect 26 good trees. And if there's not, we'll have to modify that. The bushes, I mean, we haven't really thought about that, but our goal is that I want people to drive down that lane and know that they're going to a quality business in Delta Township. So our goal is to make that a lot nicer than it looks today. That's all I wanted to pretty much say is that's very important to us, that not just that we do a good job, but it's looks professional. We want to be professional. And I think that'll change a lot.
Yeah, the ordinance will allow you to do exactly that.
Yeah.
So there's no prohibition, so.
Yeah. So. I mean, from my perspective, I've always found Gary and Dave and our planning department to be pretty flexible, especially with folks such as yourself that are willing to keep that area as natural as possible and even add to that. So we've got a motion in front of us with those stipulations. We'll see what the commissioners want to do. But I'm sure that moving along, you'll continue those discussions with the planning department.
That sounds good.
I have a question of the applicant.
Yeah.
The circular drive that be extended past the new building, is that to be asphalt or is that concrete? Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant?
Chair?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, I don't
Yeah.
recall seeing it.
Why don't you come up to the mic so we can at least get you on that?
About how many new jobs do you expect this expansion to support?
Well, I mean, our goal is 20. Our goal is 20 for that particular phase of the process. It's gonna take, 2 to 3 years to probably get to that full 20. It depends obviously what the economic conditions do on outside of this, but our goal is 20. In order to put that addition up and to make it worth, doing, we need 20 people to be out there working. And there's a couple other businesses in Michigan that have closed their doors recently in the last 12 months. And so there's a large amount of work that's available for what we do. So if we add that, we're not gonna, the only thing we're gonna have trouble with is hiring the 20 skilled labor that we need. If we get them, it's not gonna be a problem.
Great, thank you.
And how long have you been in that location?
Well, we moved into that location in October of 2013. We purchased it in August of 2014.
Thank you. How about 10 years? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, what be the pleasure of the commission members?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Member Schweitzer.
I move that the Delta Township Planning Commission approve the preliminary site plan for the proposed development, proposed Midwest Press building expansion as illustrated on site plans prepared by Netterveld project number 234-00668. Last date of revision, September 16, 2023. Note the plan states the month is August, and this is incorrect. And there are 6 stipulations on the report dated September 25th, 2003. Page 7. Support.
Been moved by Member Schweitzer, supported by Member Mudry. Any discussion? I guess I've got a question. As they move forward and we talk about the greenbelt, if there's a variance that's needed, would that come back here?
No, that would go, if there is a variance that's needed, it would go to the zoning board of appeals. But I do have a lot of discretion.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Try
Thank
to
you,
avoid
Gary.
that.
Appreciate that. All right, any other discussion or questions? Okay, I believe this is a voice vote again. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion's adopted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up on the agenda, public comments. There are none. Planning director comments.
I have nothing prepared, if I'll entertain questions from the commissioners.
When we roll two items into one, that's great.
Is the at-home building site, is that construction gonna come down?
There's a report that, I think is prepared. That says that a portion that wasn't destroyed by the tornado, or the last storm, can possibly be reused. So,
Okay.
Ooh, there was a portion that was,
there was a wall that failed as a result of the high winds.
good thing no one was around. Huh?
How much of it came down during the storm?
I think it's what was it, the north wall, I think came down.
Yeah.
There we go.
East.
East wall?
It's
Is
east,
that what it was?
yeah.
Because the report I was getting is they're knocking it down. Well, the act of God evidently knocked.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, there is some reports that they could, portions of it can be maintained and still used, and the parts that got knocked down, can be rebuilt. But I don't know if they're gonna do it. That's the other thing. I don't think a decision's been made yet, so. I understand At Home is still interested in coming to Delta Township, so.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right. Any other questions?
I don't know whether it's the location of people that I associate with or whatever, but that development along Marketplace is generating more questions and comments than I've gotten on anything in a very long time. Everybody wants to know what it is.
It's the senior project. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that started it now?
Yeah, they finally did start.
Yeah.
Yeah, you move dirt and the questions start popping up.
Indeed.
Zap zone opening still in November?
Well, Peter, since you're here.
Yeah, Peter Menser, Economic Development Director, Community Economic Development. Last thing I heard, and there was an article in the LSJ a couple weeks ago, they're having supply chain issues. They wanted to be open for like the office party holiday season. So as far as we know, yeah.
Okay. Any other word on other spaces in the mall?
No, nothing, no new tenants, nothing significant. They've had some infill. There's a new gym called HIIT Fitness.
Okay.
That's actually moved from somewhere else in the township, but yeah, they're steady.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Is there a Red Cross in the mall? And I saw something about donating blood on one of the outside of the.
Haven't heard that.
Yeah, there's nothing official that I know of.
Across from the old, what was that big huge, I call it country western restaurant slash bar.
Right outside the theaters there.
Yeah,
Oh,
something else.
There's a CPR place, like a CPR training place in
Oh,
the
is that
mall.
what that is?
Yeah, and
Okay.
what their emblem is a red, I think it is a Red Cross actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, they teach like all kinds of people how to do CPR and other first aid. I
In the mall.
Yep.
Okay.
think it's called a CPR store.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? If not, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and supported. That we adjourn. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Thank you.